Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today I'll be taking a look at Search and Destroy by Atsushi Kaneko. This is a manga that's being put out by Fantagraphics. Atsushi Kaneko is adapting very loosely Osamu Tezuka's Dororo. So taking the basic premise of that, but then really taking it in a different way. I have read Dororo. I got that. I did not enjoy it. I thought it felt like an idea that just didn't know where it was going. So it's interesting to see someone else taking that on. I'm assuming this is kind of like Urasawa's Pluto, where they're taking something and they're expanding it and trying to take like the core idea of what Tezuka was doing, and his works just seem like he'll wander off, or he'll get bored, or it didn't go well. And so this is like, I think, a chance for someone to come back and take a beloved kernel of a story and expand it into to something more modern. But I don't really know the history there. So we're in like some kind of post-apocalyptic. It looks like some kind of communist hellscape here with these giant statues. We're introduced to this character here that seems to be some kind of biomechanical cyborg organoid thing. The art in this is really interesting in that there is a lot to it that suggests manga, but I think even more the artwork to me looks very American. It looks based a little bit more in like Will Eisner. The inks look based more in like American style inking. It feels also very much like a lot of the stuff that's going on in Europe, where Europe has assimilated like the Disney style animation from America, and then the manga stuff and the kind of the sleekness of American inks, and you get like artists like Matthew Bonhomme and people like that I think would be making images like this. So this is strangely, for a manga being done by a Japanese artist, like it feels strangely Western to me. I know an old term that they would have used is that the inks are too buttery. They're very slick and fatty and very American. So it's very interesting to see that more American modernized European approach in the manga, and you get a lot of very good cartooning from it. This here is Doro. She is obviously going to be one of the main characters. In this world, there's two types of creatures. There's the human, and then there's the creatures. And this is a creature right here. And the creature are these like bio-organoid cyborg type of things. And obviously, Doro's has a problem with them. We meet the Hyaku, who's I think really the main character of the story, is obviously one of these creature type of things that is put together between robotics and some human parts. The call out to Urasawa in terms of like updating and adapting a Tezuka piece also plays over in the art. I think there's some obvious influence. A lot of the faces, like underneath the finish of this, which to me again looks very buttery and American, looks almost like Terry Rachel Dodson type of inking. Underneath that is like a Naoki Urasawa face, the way he's got the teeth and the baggy eyes and all of that. So it's an interesting thing to see those different influences coming together and seeing how the one piles on top of the other. This story eventually turns into becoming about an art heist. There's an art heist going on here, and you can see the Hayaku character coming in. The characters have a lot of interesting like abilities going on here. You see that this one is a robot that has actually purposely gone out of its way to get human eyes, and they're saying that because the human parts can do things that these synthetic parts can't. He's saying these eyes can see beauty. Lenses of organic crystal project dreams onto retinal ganglion cells. And like this ability to dream and see things through the human eye seems very important to these synthetic creatures. A lot of really great art in terms of action sequences here. That combination of influences works really well. So you get like the Masamune Shiro bounciness of the car, the tire lean. You get all of the speed lines that you get from manga, but then you have some of like the more American type of anatomy and finish to things. And I think it makes for just a really exciting visual style. And at the end of the book, we get basically what the premise is going to be. This is where we're getting the premise from the original Dororo story, is you have the creator of Haikyuu is telling her, your body was looted by these creatures, these synthetic creatures, and they cut you up and disassembled you and gave your parts to 48 different creatures. And so obviously now in this flashback sequence at the end of volume 1, we're setting up what's going to be the quest for the whole story, which is to get all of her parts back. And that's what's happened, spoiler alert, that's what's happened in this one. Is obviously her eyes were the eyes taken by this guy, and she gets her eyes back. And so now, like in the original story where it was like I think 48 demons that got the parts of Dororo, in this one it's updated to the technological landscape, and we're going to have 48 creatures that have pieces of her body parts, and she's going to go put herself back together, I assume is the plot. So this is interesting. I'm not used to Fantagraphics putting out what looks like long serialized manga, but I find this one pretty exciting just because it is such a cool mashup of cultural influences, and then such a strange and interesting update in that, like, the technological aspects of this feel very in line with what Tezuka would have done, but the original Dororo story was more mythological, even though he has works in both genres. So it's interesting to see that they've taken one from his non-sci-fi genres and turned it into something that feels a little bit like one of his sci-fi stories. So very cool series. Definitely looking forward to reading further volumes of this. A very cool book.